afternoon. I can't believe it myself. It's Friday afternoon and it's yet the end of another month and we are approaching November. Does it feel like it to you? Today is just a gorgeous day in Florida and it does feel like, hey Jane, it's beginning to feel like fall, at least today. So in Florida, we never know. It could be a different story tomorrow because it changes every single day. But I have some really interesting things to share with you this afternoon. And I'll tell you why. It really was inspired by what I'm seeing from a lot of you. And I really started thinking about something that was on my mind and on my heart. And that really is time and how fast it's going by, and yet how slow in many, many ways it's going by. And we're all feeling it in different ways. And this is why this topic and this research this week seemed to be so important to me to share with you. As you know, my company is a pioneer in products that deal with aging and energy and all those related things. And so from a physiological and a medical and a research perspective, there's an awful lot of things that we can do. But there's a reality that we're dealing with today that is absolutely unheard of, unexpected, and we're still in uncharted waters as every day goes by. So earlier this week I saw a post that I did a year ago, and oh, by the way, it's daylight savings time this weekend. We're going to set the clocks back an hour. And last year it was really the discussion about what happens when you set your clock back an hour. And there's pros and cons of that. But I heard something on the news today that really put a different light, literally, on it. Daylight and being able to be out in the daylight is actually a very positive thing for us when we're dealing with this COVID and pandemic and lockdown and all of those things. So in the past, when things like daylight savings time were just sort of something we did, now it takes on a completely different meaning. So more and more things, more and more of those everyday things now are taking on different meaning. So when you think about time, and I started doing a little research journey this week about it, I was very disappointed to find out that time, if you start studying it, is primarily related to productivity, to earnings, to the length of your career, to the length of not just your lifespan, but really the productiveness of your life. And I thought, well, you know, that really sounds kind of cold to me. And I was looking for something more. So this is a result of what I came up with. And it really, really means an awful lot when we're talking about what we're dealing with in terms of COVID-19. And the information that I'm sharing today is from a Washington Post article. But there were a lot of, hey Donna, there were a lot of contributors to this information, a lot of therapists and mental health counselors that contributed to this information. And it's called Aging in Place. And it's the result of a lot of different people sharing how they feel, particularly now, because people are feeling older now because of our current situation. And I think you'll find these comments really interesting. I don't know where you are. I fight it every day because that's just how I am. And so this is a different kind of fight for me. But here's what I'm going to share with you today. Aging in place and why so many people feel like they're aging in place today. Here's a comment. Maybe this is what retirement feels like. That's from a 16-year-old. Another comment, I'm always tired. I'm always stressed out. She's 40. She says, I'm caring for 3 sons. I work during the week, and on the weekend, I can't get a break. I just want to nap. But napping is boring because I really can't do anything else. And the day feels like it doesn't stop. So we are sheltering in place, but yet we are aging in place. And the time that we have feels very heavy and very draining. There's a lot of grief, a lot of anxiety, and the feeling of a loss of control. We're restricted in our movement and just about everything that we do. So although time has slowed in many ways, it's going much faster in other ways. We're feeling smaller, we're feeling quieter, our routine is very wearying, and our footprint has shrunk. New places, new people, and fresh experiences have gone away. For many people, we're very fortunate to be able to be at home and to be able to be getting out a lot more than other people in other areas of the country. But there is a physical toll when we're coping with stress and anxiety, no matter what. And that's what this is really talking about. Whether you're working or whether you're not working, you're dealing with additional stress and anxiety. For many people, we're actually working a lot less. We feel very fragile, and there are things that we simply can no longer take for granted. Things like going to the grocery store or even taking a walk have additional stress because we're navigating unknowns and new experiences, and this one I particularly like. We're doing massive amounts of Zooms, and we look like little people in little cages on Zoom, and that is absolutely true. So even though self-quarantine feels like punishment, it's something that we have to do, and we've lost a kind of innocence, especially our children. It's exhausting coping with unfamiliar circumstances. Daily life has shrunk. Small things matter more, even the weather, and conversation has been downsized to just meaningless chat. So some of those things I think we feel in our everyday lives. We're eating more carbs because that's that sort of comfort food. Things that have become a challenge that weren't really a challenge before. This is a comment from a sportscaster. Well, guess what? There are no sports. So everything in his world has also been reduced to a much smaller existence. There's no going to the mall and having lunch and casual shopping. That just doesn't exist anymore. And who knows when we'll have those kinds of days. So the overnight changes in our world first felt like a novelty, but now they are wearing on us. And we are not built to be locked down and remain in a state of crisis. We were not built to be sitting in front of a screen for our emotional needs. And that really, really spoke to me because there are a lot of things that we can do to keep busy, but then we find that they're very repetitive. So the wisdom of aging, we feel like we're aging, but we have not yet had the time to reach the wisdom of aging. We've not yet obtained the coping skills for difficult circumstances, but yet we've had to adapt quickly. And for many people, they've lost friends and family, and we've had a couple of them in the last couple of weeks that were extremely tragic under normal circumstances, but under COVID circumstances, it's especially difficult to go through what would normally be a normal grieving process or an extension of our sympathies. So I want to end on a little bit more of a positive note, but this really struck me. So for a lot of people, we are feeling like, even though it's only been a few months, we've probably aged years. And there are things that we need to be more confident and conscious about more than ever to really combat these very unusual circumstances. And these are, you've heard me say these a lot, but when I read information like this and I hear about what's going on around the country, and these are mental health counselors that are reporting this information, it really comes down to things that we can do, and they're very simple, but absolutely, without a doubt, focusing on nutrition, good nutrition, healthy eating, going outside, being engaged, being active in something that is doable where you are, meditation, breathing, yoga, keeping your brain engaged in something other than Netflix. I literally go on my telephone and Google what's new on Netflix. That's terrible. But keep moving, whatever you can do for exercise, and getting out and doing more of those things, and sleeping, absolutely, and staying connected. I think that's one of the best things. I've had an opportunity to go to a few things recently, and I felt so much more optimistic. I felt very encouraged. I felt like, gosh, life is really going to get back to normal sooner, maybe rather than later. So we'll see how all that shakes out. But for now, I just wanted to really share with you that aging in place is another one of those things that we're discovering about lockdown and quarantine and COVID. You may feel heavy, you may feel aging, and it's sounding like it's a pretty normal thing these days with people around us. So thanks for joining me this afternoon. It's beautiful in Florida. For a lot of you that join me on the replay, I'd love to hear your comments, because many of you are tuning in from different places all over the United States, and we'd love to hear what you're experiencing in your areas of the country, and share that. And always have a great YouTube page, some great information on there. Always subscribe to my YouTube page, and I'm always posting about some healthy tips for all of us during just staying healthy, but also during some really unusual times. So go vote, turn your clocks back, and look forward to another. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.